Hello, everyone. I'm Jean-Claude BeyondMystic, and welcome to this Thursday night episode of the Wacky Woo. Although the poster is a little bit different tonight, of course, we have new energies moving in this crazy, crazy world of ours. And here with me to decode all of that, of course, is the fabulous one and only JSNIP4. You can find him at JSNIP4 2 here on YouTube. And we also have Julie from Maison Jupiter on YouTube. And finally, Mr. WOOWOODUDE himself. You can find him at woowoodude.com. Richard, Julie, Joe, welcome back to the show. How are you guys?
Good.
Good. Hey, everybody.
Okay. Joe, are you sure? Do you have enough water for the show? Are you good? Like, do you have water?
I
You're good.
got my 55-gallon drum with me. I think we're good.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I'm sorry we're a little bit late, and this time it is actually my fault. I lost power just before the show. I had to reconstitute the whole slide deck here in a rush to get the show started. So I'll do a big mea culpa. This one's on me for sure tonight. As the title says, guys, we're changing narratives here. I want to start there. There's a couple of astrological alignments here that could help us understand perhaps what's going on. So I'm going to ask Julie to navigate us through some of those charts at the beginning, and I'll ask Joe and Richard here to chime in. And we'll also be trying to take your questions as we move along. This is YouTube. We're going to try to use some friendly words around this topic. It's a little bit difficult here, as you guys know. And we'll try to take some questions also later on in the show. Julie, before we start, which chart specifically do you want to start with tonight? Do you want to talk about the Mars retrograde first?
Yeah, this is what
That's
I
where
was
you want to
going
go? Okay.
Yeah, that's where I want to go.
Okay, let's start there.
Yeah, because I just reread the cover of this show and it reminded me of this big Mars retrograde. So Mars, it's the planet related to this word that we're not allowed to say tonight. So WAR. As Richard said before the show, this big love fest. Let's change the vocabulary here.
Yep.
So Mars is related to that type of conflict, and it is going to stay exceptionally long for an exceptionally long period of time in the same sign. It's going to stay in 7 months in the sign of Gemini because it's turning retrograde on October 30th. But we're already in the orb of influence of this retrograde. And whenever this planet changes movement, so going retrograde or going direct again after a retrograde, it changes the dynamic in the world. And in Gemini, it talks about countries that are linked as brother versus brother, so neighbor countries, or it could be also in a country, it could be states that are, let's say, they're having a conflict, and when Mars turns retrograde, it reverses the energy. So they might make peace after the conflict, or if two brother countries are in a conflict in the present moment, this retrograde is going to change this energy. So it might be responsible for this escalation in this type of energy that we're having at the moment. It could also talk about civil unrest. So inside a country, it could be because Gemini is associated with neighbor against neighbor, brother against brother. So it could be more of a civil unrest than a conflict between countries also. So it's not just negative, but it changes the dynamic. So, and it's going to affect very much the United States because at the same time that Mars is in Gemini, the United States in their chart are having their Mars return in their 7th house of agreements with other countries, but also the 7th house is the open enemies house in astrology. So when you have the planet of WAR in your 7th house, which is the open enemies house, they could be triggered into action to making some decisions in regards to their relationship with other countries. It could change in that sense. And also Mars will be on their natal Uranus in their 6th house. So there could be also something around the war on censorship going bigger at that time. So this energy is very much emphasized in the astrology. I think we're going to hear a lot about conflicts inside a country or with other countries, and the United States are probably going to be very involved in this.
And what's interesting here, the chart for the specific Mars retrograde, the exact starts on October 30th, but the orb of influence is already here. Is that correct,
Yeah.
Julie?
Exactly.
Okay. Joe, let me ask you, based on this too, you and I have been talking about this for quite some time, and the word or the narrative out there for the last number of months was that this particular country was involved in a policing action. So they didn't want to escalate to the WAR narrative or nomenclature. And for the last number of months, those of us who have been researching here and not believing the mainstream media, we were kind of understanding here that that particular country was winning or being successful in its policing action. Now, what seems to be happening this week has a lot of people confused. We're like, well, if they were winning, why are they now jumping to a higher escalation where now there's a potential draft involved, including recruiting international soldiers to the front line? What do you, first of all, what do you make of this all? Like, why the change in narrative? Why now? Of course, this was a day or two after the Trump rally with that weird flag that said, okay, it's open warfare from now on. Joe, what can you tell the audience?
Yeah, so that's a good point. We had Trump with the United States flag with the stars missing and all that. And they said, well, what this typically means, this is your last chance to surrender. It's on, like it's no more chances now. Like it's over, nobody gets a chance to, wave your white flag. Now it's over. It's wartime. So we had that happen. We had, I think just before that, we had Putin with the whole thing with the owl, the girl with the owl, or not the owl, the bird of prey that, he wants to name it Storm, the Storm. And, I'm just reading here, they're, I sent WOOWOODUDE a picture on the phone earlier. I was like, look at that, they're line. There's guys, by the hundreds at least, in a line at looks like a military base in Russia, boarding a big giant military plane. And like we talked, you said, some of these people aren't wanting to join, and there's a draft that they leave, that, all this stuff. So there's a lot of people in Russia getting ready to go fight. So those two signs were already telling us, get ready. It's about to be on like Donkey Kong, basically. So it's happening. It's going to be a big giant, let's take care of Ukraine extremely quickly, instead of playing these little tit for tat games and this nonsense, even though Russia was always winning, even though we had nonsense news about Russians, fake, they had video game footage. Oh, they shot down some Russian MiGs. It's a video game, you morons, just all this propaganda. But I think, again, you come fast, furious with this huge might, it's over. It's going to start and end so quick. I think, at least in Ukraine, we had China also join and say, hey, they supposedly were spotted joining, Russia right there in Ukraine. So it's, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It is happening. And what's tomorrow? The 23rd, they'll 9/23 and all that stuff. And I've got images. I joined a channel that was on one of these other telegrams I joined about Princess Diana, and they showed a picture of this older woman. I'm going, if that's fake, that's the right age. Again, this was 27 years ago. She died. I'm going, you look at the two, it's like, oh my God, that's her. That's what she would look like 20 some odd, 25 years later. Why would they be showing that right now?
Janine was pulling some cards just the other day, and she says, there's this woman that keeps coming back up on the scene here, somebody that was passed over, meaning that she was put aside for a while. And we're like, well, who's this woman? And she said, it could be that. So that's very interesting. Let me just share with the audience members what you were just talking about here. This particular story, again, this was mainstream news saying that Russia was restricting air travel for young men, of course, fighting age men who apparently were fleeing the country. And so there was question there as to whether or not the citizenry was actually supporting this effort or not, or if this is just more propaganda from the West here. So we have to wade through all of that.
You might have Ukrainians being shipped over to Russia and saying, go.
Yeah.
In a sense of false flag, that's not beyond what we've already done many times.
Right.
That's our rule number one kind of thing in our book. So it wouldn't surprise me, because what Putin then said was, oh, if you're going to even protest this, you're automatically drafted. Thanks. So when I heard him say that, I go, gosh, I wonder. I mean, sure, there's always some people who are going to, protest regardless in your country. But I just had that little feeling like, man, I wonder if he already knows they've sent some fake Russians over. Oh, thanks for coming. Now we're drafting you. So imagine being a deep state op for Ukraine, and then they're throwing you in the war for Russia. Let's go fight more army.
Well, that would be like grabbing all the Antifa people here and say, okay, we're sending you to boot camp. That's interesting. Actually, I was thinking about that earlier today. Let me ask her, Richard. Richard, let me unmute you here. What do you make of this? Like, was this always in the plan to eventually go to this new escalation, or did something change recently? And there's a fusil changement d'épaule, or changement d'épaule. I forget what the actual term is. Changing your, what the hell is that term? Anyways, changing strategy here midway. Is that what's happening here, Richard? What do you think?
Yeah, I think if you go back in your broadcast, probably all the way back in the beginning of January, when I had the visions. Again, these are not dreams, visions. And I told all you guys about the fight, okay, with Putin in the ring. But I came right out and I said on your channel that, oh, shit. I said, he's going for the head of NATO. All the other stuff is bullshit. Okay, he's going to take Ukraine, but this is all about NATO. NATO is going to be taken down completely. It's going to be divided up. And you're going to see, like I said before, many countries starting to fight against themselves. Now stop that. You're going to see a lot of orbs coming through, guys. I'm sorry. Okay. But so it's happening. If you go back and just watch those other shows, and, I haven't veered from anything. I mean, it's going to happen that way. It has to happen this way. Many people in Europe are going to realize that the big people that are trying to control everything is really about money and controlling of the financial system and to keep their rule going. And you're going to see countries saying very shortly now, you don't give a shit about us. And they don't. Okay. But they think that it's a collective, and whatever the big guys say up top, well, we're going to follow this way. Sorry, it's not going to happen. So this is going to escalate. I think I told Joe about 2 weeks ago that I kept searching in, trying to find another 222. If I remember, I did tell you, Joe, that the only thing I could come up with was the 24th, because the 2 and then 4 divided by 2 is 22. And I went, and then the other date that I believe is very, very important that they brought to me was the 29th. I know tomorrow's supposed to be a big day, or it's today. Is today the 23rd or tomorrow? Tomorrow.
Or the 22nd today. Yeah.
Yeah. The way the world is, who the hell knows what date it is? Right. But dramatic changes, and I know what Snippy's waiting for. Okay. And I haven't changed that, I don't know.
What was that saying in the Star Trek show where Deanna Troi says, there's no time to talk about time, or to argue about time? I don't know what it was. But Joe, let me bring you back here too. There was a WebBot data report way back when, I believe circa 2017, and it's suggesting that Russia would save the world. Do you remember that series? What can you share with the audience here? And are we getting into perhaps the timeline? I know we're getting a lot of temporal markers hitting right now with respect to everything else, but that particular data set of Russia either saving the world or being leading the charge to save the world, what do you remember about that? What do you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact, but yeah, it was basically like, because it reminded me of what Edgar Casey had said, Sleeping Prophet, from back in the day. And he mentioned, Russia would be the light of the world at some point. Like they would be the shining light, the leader. And not necessarily like the world leader. I just meant like, Putin essentially would, in so many words, not necessarily save the world, but kind of like, in a sense, be part of that. And it's like, Russia, what? Russia, I mean, he didn't say Putin because Putin wasn't around back then, but he just said Russia. So we know Putin's in charge of Russia. So that we did have that webbot data. I just basically know the bare minimum, like you just said. It's just Russia that essentially would kind of lead the way.
And do you remember also Sarah saying here, John Teeter? Did he say something about Russia too? I don't recall.
Well, yeah. So John Teeter had said, he referred to N Day, nuclear day.
Right.
And he mentioned Russia and China would certainly be on the team, and then basically the U.S. And we did have some allies that, didn't want to be our ally after the war, because I guess we left them hanging or something. But he had mentioned, the way he worded it was Russia's enemy was the citizens of the United States' enemy also, and we had a common enemy. In other words, the deep state. That's what Teeter said.
Oh, Joe, you broke up there. The last couple of words, can you repeat that?
That's what John Teeter said.
Just before that, you said something and it broke up. I didn't hear you.
I was just saying...
people's enemy, and then what? Something there?
Yeah, so John Teeter had said Russia's enemy and his enemy, which when I say his, Teeter's and the people, their enemy and Russia's enemy were the same.
Right.
And he mentioned the big cities are the ones that got hit hard, nuked. And someone had asked, well, where's the safe places? He goes, well, look it up by zip code or something, like the population level by zip code. I forgot how he worded it. And that'll give you an idea of whether you're in a big city or not, or something like that. Right. So, I mean, there's I believe he came back and told, he may be tied to Trump somehow, and that's why Trump came up and said, you know what, I better run, because we can change the timeline with this information that Lady Tori says, keeps talking about looking glass, through the looking glass, this technology. I think they know they've got it all down, and they're just, just the cards are going to fall right where they planned them to. No matter how scary it looks, or Russia's going to invade, Ukraine, or something escalates. It's just like, you know what? It has to, like WOOWOODUDE said, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Do what you got to do to just try to stay calm and live your life and let things happen, because there's things bigger than all of us that have to happen. And you not know the meanings and why this is happening or that's happening. But believe me, it's supposed to happen. It's going to happen. And just, try to stay away from, certainly don't go out and protest and be involved in anything. Just sit back and, try to enjoy the show if you can. But again, it's going to be a little scary at times.
Right. Well, let's talk about this timeline thing here again. I had a show today with Bruce Ezall. Guys, if you haven't seen this episode, he's got amazing captures of the moon, some structures being built. He's got time-lapse videos, like really cool stuff. Go check it out. But in part of our conversation, we talked about something that he was researching. I believe he pulled it from the blackvault.com, and these were declassified documents that talked about time travel. So it's interesting, Joe, you're mentioning that up here too, but this was from the government's perspective and how they were implicated in all of that. But Richard, I wanted to bring you up on the screen here too, because again, if you look at Teeter, the N Day, as Joe just said here, we're going to try to not to say those words too many times. It's here again now in the narrative. It was there last week. NATO was saying that, the withdrawal from Putin from that particular area of the world could lead to this particular N word being used. And I'm curious now, like a lot of people are emailing me, JC, is that possible? Do we need to hide it? Like there's fear here around this particular word. Do you see that we're on a timeline now where these devices can and will actually be used, or are we past that now in terms of there's a bigger hand at play here? Richard, what would you say to the audience?
Number one, stop the fear. All right. The worst that'll happen is you'll see this bright light and you'll realize you're already on the other side. Okay, I'll be there with you. Okay, we'll have a drink. All right. So just get rid of it. Whatever happens, happens. But the thing is, timelines are changed daily. They really are, with the decisions people make. So we're on multiple timelines as we go through this, and there's multiple endings to this. But this is where you got to keep the faith. All right. There's really, really big hands involved here, and have faith. Get ready to rumble. You were told.
Richard, while you're on, Ocean Odell is asking here, what is the biggest change you see coming. And once we go through that, we're going to go to Nostradamus here. We have a prophecy that seems to be lining up right now also. But for you, Richard, in response to Ocean Odell's question, what's the biggest change you see coming?
The whole world. Everything that you know. We're never going back to what it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. This is the great change. And the key is if you're one of these people that are hoping that, okay, if we do this, we'll go back to the way it was. No. Does that mean it's all bad? No. All right. We just got to get through this. That's the biggest thing. Don't be freaking out. Okay. There's nothing that you can do about this. So enjoy it. Watch what happens. Knowing that, again, I said this 2 years ago, the tree of evil, the roots have got to be exposed to kill the tree.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The roots are being exposed across the whole world. This is the world. So if you think you're going to run to Canada or the United States or Mexico and get around this, you're not. None of us. We're all going to deal with something. Okay. And my feeling is it's like chess. Is I know we all try to think 3 or 4 positions ahead of time, but you got to let the pieces move and then look at it. And I say connect with spirit, okay, and use your discernment. They'll talk to you and explain these things to calm your heart, and that's what you need to do. Everybody here that's listening to this channel, okay, I gotta say 99% of them, okay, is psychic, except for Joe. Okay, he's the 1%. He only gets these crazy ass dreams.
I get
Oh shit!
girl sometimes.
He's bringing in the superpower. Oh my God, the 8 ball. You know.
Oh my God.
Listen.
Yes, 99% of the people here are on board, but there's a 1.1% there calling us. I don't even want to say the word. We're just going to move on. Hey, Litecoin Lisa's in the chat. Guys, go check her out. You can find her at litecoinlisa.com. No, not Litecoin. Yes, I believe so. That's her website, but she's also on YouTube, of course. A lot of great content there. Lisa, welcome to the show tonight. Thank you for being here. Julie, let's move into this. As we're talking about these timelines here, Nostradamus had a lot of prophecies, but sometimes the timelines were a little bit off. But as we track them through time, eventually we see, kind of like with the Web data, suddenly we have this nomenclature manifesting in front of us. Bring to the awareness of the audience here this particular one.
Yeah, can I just add something? Previously, you guys were talking about this chance of, I don't know if I can say that word, but NUKES.
Yeah.
Flying everywhere, and I pulled some cards while you guys were talking, and I've got the Magician and the 7 of Cups, which are both illusion cards. So I just wanted to share that in case some people were stressed about that. So I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's part of I hate to say it's part of the movie, but I kind of have to. I'm sorry. I think it's part of the awakening process that we're going into. So yeah, let's get back to Nostradamus.
Very good.
Okay, so I was guided. I received a book. I was gifted a book about all his prophecies. It's a huge book a while back, and I haven't had the time to really read it. But I was guided 2 days ago to open it at this specific page where this specific prophecy is. So yeah, I thought about sharing that with you guys, so maybe you'll have some input. I thought it was very relevant with what is going on. So I believe he was talking about what's going on right now in the world. So and mind you, it's translated from French to English, so there's a lot of different versions of translations. So let's not be too specific about the words. Okay, so he says the world near the final period. So I was thinking about this Saturn-Uranus square that we're experiencing at the moment, which talks about this tension between the old world and the new world, the control versus freedom. because it's the last square of this cycle. So the world near the final period, and then Saturn again will make a late return. Because he talks a lot about astrology, I discovered recently. So I was looking at some sort of association or a country that would be having their Saturn return, because he talks about a Saturn return. So I was looking at the European Union chart, and they are at the moment having their Saturn return, which is going to be exact on January. But Saturn returns are so important as astrological events that are felt 6 months before the exact date of the return. So we're already in the orb of influence for this European Union Saturn return. And then he says the empire is transferred towards the broad nation. So there are a couple interpretation of what should be this broad nation he's referring to. But some people say it's the New World Order. So urban people, well, I tend to believe he's talking about this shift through this age of Aquarius that we're making right now, more of a spiritual shift maybe. And then he says the eye plucked out at Narbonne by a hawk. So the eye, I was thinking about maybe this all-seeing eye. And then Narbonne corresponds to a city in France, which we were told by someone in the community here that Narbonne would be the seat where the Mary Magdalene, what is it again? Mary Magdalene.
The bloodline.
Bloodline, is it? Or like a sisterhood thing?
Oh, I'm not sure which email you're talking about, but they were referencing basically another bloodline, where kind of like what Trump was saying in his speeches, giving the people back the power from the Illuminati. I think this hawk and the broad nation is also that, taking power from one group and giving it, broadly across the base. But that one was also. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, sorry.
Narbonne was also a city of underground labyrinths left over from the Roman Empire. So for a lot of people now, again, going back to the previous administration, are looking at where do we find these tunnels, and perhaps where is the nexus of all of these tunnels for all of this trafficking. And so I think perhaps Nostradamus was pointing at this here for some reason. So time will tell. Maybe the next couple of days and weeks, there's something there. But we've also seen that Macron in the last little while was wavering on the narrative against that particular country that starts with the R. So there seems to be something happening in France also.
And I believe I read that it used to be a Roman port city, Narbonne. So maybe related to the Vatican. And someone said here, the eye plucked out by a hawk. Could this be a reference to Putin's hawk storm? So we learned recently that apparently the word falcon and hawk is the same in Russian. So
right. And Ukrainian also, they use the same word for both birds. So I'm like, oh, okay. So again, there it's the symbology, not necessarily the exact bird. Joe, you seem to be having your head blown here. What do you want to add to this?
Remember the church that burned down, Notre Dame?
Notre Dame, yeah.
That has nothing to do with any of this, does it? You think?
I think so.
It does, because that's about the divine feminine energies waking up also from underneath the wounded patriarchy that's running the show there through the Vatican and over the Temple of Isis that's underneath that particular church. That's a lot for this show. But yes, there's a connection there. So with France, but Narbonne is new to this research community. We haven't really looked at that. Nostradamus did, but we're trying to figure it out. Let me just bring it up again here. As Julie was saying, the Hurrium is an underground labyrinth of ancient warehouses left over from the town's days as a Roman port. And I'll show pictures of those labyrinths here in a second. Joe, going back to the Webbot data here too, at what point did you see, or was Cliff talking about some type of dissolution of the European Union? Here now, as Julie is just describing, we have this Saturn return Let me just bring that back up here. This one here. What can you share with the audience on that particular front, Joe? And then I'll ask Julie also to bring us up to speed here with the particular alignment that's going to be affecting them here. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, it just talked about, again, it's hard to give timing because of how many years ago his web bots stopped, and then all of a sudden all the stuff's coming true now. But I mean, if anything, it's happening. But yeah, I mean, it would talk about, basically the breakup of the EU. It's not going to work. It was never going to work. And it just, essentially falls apart. And again, in the meantime, people are starting to get pissed off at their leaders and getting furious and revolting. And then they break into the Vatican over food. Yeah. Because everyone's hungry, there's food shortages. So they break into the Vatican. I remember him in the one report, he talked about, they didn't break in yet, but they were like protesting at the gates kind of a thing. And one of the Vatican guards kills or hurts somebody really bad. And then they get pissed off. So they come back. And then maybe that's when the guard kills the person. So now the people are really pissed off and they break the gate down. They break, they want revenge. But when they go inside, it's like, oh, what's all this stuff? And let's go a little deeper. Oh my gosh, what's all this stuff? And they would find all kinds of interesting things that they would just put on the internet. It's like a free for all. Here you go. Almost like a wiki. Here you go, everybody, have fun. And then within that, they would discover secret locations of huge food stored places across the planet. And then they would leak that out for people so they could go get the food.
Wow. And we're seeing all the narrative is all out right now in terms of Europe, the riots, the food riots, the energy crisis, like it's boiling right now. So that's very interesting. Again, looking at this Nostradamus prophecy, this is some of the imagery, guys. You might be guided. You might have dreamt about these places before. If you're in the live chat now, you're sensitive to perhaps what's happening in these undergrounds. You might want to share with us here too. We're all trying to decode here how Narbonne and this particular labyrinth of tunnels might be connected here to this plucking of the eye by the hawk here, and what role perhaps Russia has in all of this.
I gotta bring up that's pretty before I forget it.
Okay, go ahead.
And this could be huge if it's something, but it may be nothing, so we have to be prepared for that. Okay. Somebody in one of the telegrams, somebody had mentioned, and one of the ones I follow posted it. So I go, oh, there could be something to this. And they said, what if some of the classified documents Donald Trump was hanging on to were the actual missing emails from Hillary Clinton? And now they've been discovered and taken by the FBI. Uh-oh. Now you guys got to do something about it. You're muted. But so I didn't want to put that out. I got to say that, and who knows what will come of it. But
wouldn't that be ironic? Like the song says, like I would love that. Richard, going back to this Europe theme here too, again, in some of those older WebBot data reports we talked about, Germany eventually either capitulating to paying the energy prices in ruble, which would eventually lead them to maybe pivot east and let go of the NATO narrative and move towards a more unipolar world. What do you see Germany doing here in the very near future, and how does it tie in perhaps to this Saturn return here for the European Union, and what could lead to its breakup? Richard?
Well, it's not going to just be Germany. There's going to be many that are going to capitulate because they're about to get really scared with something that's about to happen. And they're going to realize that each one of these countries are in it for themselves, and they're going to have to do this. So they are going to fold. But the ones that are going to be the hardest are the ones that are doing a lot of the evil behind the scenes, because all this is going to be exposed. And the reason that they're trying to do the destruction and everything is to hide their footprints. But there's no way to hide it. Okay, it's all coming out. There's nothing that they can do about this, no matter what they try to do. All right, so we're not, John, we're not talking about just Germany. Okay, we're talking a lot of them. And they're going to realize it, but something is about to happen that's going to just shock the shit out of everybody and realize that, oh boy, we're in trouble here. Yeah, you really are. And again, the people that are the puppeteers for the people that control the United States and other areas, they don't give a rat's ass, and they need to cover this because they think they can escape and then get control. And I got to throw something out because this happened today. I'm not going to mention the name, so you're going to have to figure it out, okay? But something's about to happen to, who was that? Joe, do you know who I'm talking about? Dr. Evil.
Yeah, I know that, but
all right. Well, who does he represent in the world scene? Come on.
Oh,
don't you dare. Something's gonna happen.
Somebody was gonna grab their heart?
No, this is a bigger guy.
You mean the penetrator?
Nothing.
The penetrator.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
I will penetrate your cabinet.
Ah. Yes, something's going to happen.
Okay.
What?
Jean Klein says, JC, please bring back these four group together on a regular basis. Thank you. Appreciate that. Ben Thompson, Richard, while I have you on the screen, Ben says, my sense is that there's something going to be happening here, either to cover the financial issue that's about to happen. And Michael, JC, moments ago, Bix Weir released a new update talking about silver suppression ending. Can you ask Richard about this? So when you're talking about there's no way to hide here, Richard, are you folding into that here, this changeover of the guard here in terms of our financial system? We just saw Colorado 2 days ago, by decree now, by law, accept Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies for paying taxes. So we're getting the legitimacy here very quickly on a regular basis in terms of this new world of ours here. But what do you have to say here about this financial changeover and why perhaps everybody's running for the hills right now?
And then when they get to the hill, they go, oh, shit, there's no other place to go. Okay. Listen, it's going to be a mixture of everything. And you're going to see people really jumping into Bitcoin when it hits 12,000. Okay. That's where people, and Snippy's going to go, oh, yeah, baby. Okay. As he gets activated. But it's the change of everything. Same with XRP. As East and West comes together, they're going to use XRP. It's going to be delivering everything. All right. The back.
That's a big and fast one.
Yeah.
I think that one hit one right behind your ear.
Yeah, that's a hairball. No. So we're in the middle of everything. And the thing is so where you're going to run that's safe. The only thing I could suggest is, like I told my daughter, is you probably want to take a little out of your 401k. And I probably wouldn't be investing in stocks right now. Okay. Not that I'm giving you any financial knowledge here, because I don't know shit. All right. But it's going to happen real quick now. Really quick. And my feeling is your people are so intelligent. They know they've got the precious metals. They got the crypto. They got the little bit of cash. That's all you can do. And it's going to get really shaky. Just hold your breath as this happens and understand that they're reshuffling the deck. They have no choice. All right. It's all collapsing worldwide. It is. And that's what they're all fighting for. Who's going to control this for the next 2,000 years? Bango.
Big redistribution there. Richard, you just mentioned $12,000 Bitcoin. A few people just fell out of their chair. And of course, we're going to look at some numbers here and some of Joe's predictions. Go ahead.
Jean-Claude, I told you 12,000 probably 2.5 months ago when you came up and said, what do you get? I know some people said 15,000 and you said, well, what do you get? I said 12. I haven't changed anything. And that's my little powder on the side is only so I could get my one Bitcoin back. That's all I want.
Okay. Before we get into some of the forecasting, we do want to get into some crypto tonight too. As I say, it's in the mainstream news, and we're seeing different jurisdictions legitimize the decentralized cryptocurrencies, and we're seeing, of course, the use now their CBDCs to continue their power grab here and the extraction energy matrix of control here on the planet. But let's go look at some of the astrology here. Julie, on October 25, we have this new moon solar eclipse. Is this for you the beginning of that big shift, or at least the big out in the open beginning of the shift here for the financial system, the bankruptcies, the banks, and all that. Navigate the audience here through this particular eclipse on the 25th.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think this is going to be probably a key moment in the year where you see the real value of things being exposed, and also things that don't have value anymore being also exposed. Because this new moon solar eclipse that we're going to have on October 25th is followed by the second eclipse on November 8th. So I was told it was an interesting date for the United States. These fall in the financial axis in astrology. So we're having eclipses along the financial axis for a year and a half. We had the first two eclipses in this axis in April and May of this year. And those ones, something happened for sure. I'm pretty sure something big happened in the financial system when we had the two first eclipses. But it's like it was below the curtains, very hidden. So I'm pretty sure something happened. But those eclipses, I think they're going to be made very public. So because the first one is going to be at 2 degrees of Scorpio. So whenever we have an eclipse, this one is a new moon, the sun will be eclipsed and Venus will be exactly conjuncting this eclipse and will be also eclipsed. And Venus represents money, currency, especially in the sign of Scorpio, which represents central banks. So I think this one will be very interesting. So we might see something such as the banks are bankrupt. I don't know if there's such a thing, but I'm trying to translate the archetypes of astrology into more financial energy. It could be something as the currency is worth nothing. There's no more physical money. It could be something along those lines because Venus represents currency. And also this eclipse is at 2 degrees, which is a Taurus degree. And again, Taurus represents also money and currencies and resources in general. So, and this eclipse is going to conjunct the South Node, which is a very karmic point in astrology that represents something that we need to let go of, something that we need to lose that's been dysfunctional, or because we're trying to go towards more the North Node, which is going to be in Taurus. So a new way to trade, a new way to trade our energy, but also our money. So we're letting go of we're purging all of the dysfunctional Scorpio themes around this eclipse, which is central banking, IRS, stock market, taxes, pensions, mutual funds, tax havens, insurances, and also it's linked to everything that's been hidden. So we know that central banks did a lot of stuff behind our backs. They were controlling the value of a lot of things that were not, let's say, a real market value. So I think this is going to come up around the eclipses, and we're already, as of, let's say, September 25th, we're going to be a month before the eclipse season. So I think we're already going to be in this orb of influence of the big fated changes that awaits us in the financial sector.
Well, we saw Russia just last week or the week before the Queen was announced or pronounced to be dead, that they were going to introduce their equivalent or competition to the LBMA, so price discovery for gold and silver. Talk about, Julie, this conjunction here for Mars and this particular asteroid, and what you think could be lined up with that.
Yeah, so I tracked the asteroid that's called Silver. There's also another asteroid called Gold. But this one I thought was super interesting because it's conjuncting exactly the planet Mars during this eclipse. And whenever we want to look at big events on the world scale, we always look at eclipses because they always trigger some big events, big changes, because they're fated events in astrology. So at the moment of this eclipse, the planet Mars, which is also the ruler of this eclipse, so it makes it even more important than it usually is going to be at alignment with this asteroid Silver in the sign of Gemini. And Gemini relates to announcements, communications. So I think we could be seeing an announcement on silver, on its true power, because Mars is about power, in the trading markets, because the sign of Gemini is about trading. It's about import export. So using the value of silver to maybe make more trading, maybe it's going to be exposed. And also Mars is the planet of innovation. So we could see some new innovations using silver in their technology. Yes, love this.
Beautiful.
So yeah, and it's going to be at 25 degree, which is a Aries degree. So it's all about a lot of strength will be around silver at the moment of this eclipse. So I think it's all tied in together with this, let's say, big event that's going to unfold with the financial system and the central banks. So I think silver is going to maybe, let's hope, get back to its real value.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much for that, Julie. Joe, let's go back to some old Web Data reports again. I know we've been talking about this ad nauseum, but it appears now, again, looking at all the other temporal markers and the narratives and the words that are coming out in our mainstream news, we seem to be there or close to that $600 silver. If in fact we have a new sheriff in town with a new price discovery model, that's one thing. And two, there might be these announcements here, as Julie is talking about here, on this particular eclipse. And of course, we have the Space Force coming up. And the term that Cliffy was using for a long time was this entering or ushering into this new sci-fi world. So, Joe, do you think we're in that time period now where these things could happen and we get to that Web Data report where at Christmas people are having conversations around the dinner table saying, hey, you remember that crazy guy down the street who bought silver? Well, he ain't that crazy anymore. He's a multimillionaire. Joe, do you think this all lines up based on this astrology and your own analysis? What can you share with the audience?
Yeah, I mean, again, I got that we're going down to $6 silver and hundreds of dollars gold first. And that came out of nowhere. I wasn't asking for that dream, but I saw that clear as day. I was shocked when I woke up from that. Just none of it made sense. I mean, it should be skyrocketing first. But again, if the old system's dying, the old paper printed, 100 to 1, 200 to 1, 300 to 1 of these paper contracts for the real thing. We all claim ownership. I mean, it's just nonsense. That whole thing gets destroyed. I could see this happening. Or again, big attack, something happens, stuff goes down, blame it on the boogeyman like they always do. But then there's going to be a time when it rockets. And that might be when real price discovery happens afterwards. And, I've been asking about like crypto stuff and my dreams, and I wasn't really getting a response. And, I don't just keep asking if they don't respond, but every once in a while I'll ask again, like, hey, I'd like to share something with my Patreon, members or whatever. It's been a little slow, but at the same time, the market's done nothing for quite a while now. But next thing I know, just a few days ago, I get this dream, and I posted it in detail on Patreon. But the gist of it was my wife was in the dream. I was gone for a long period of time that I didn't realize I was gone for, and I had asked her, well, how long did you wait for me, like before you gave up on me? And she was like, 2 months. And I'm like, that's all. But I was like, oh yeah, I guess. I mean, if I'm gone for 2 months and I never see you again, I guess, thanks for waiting 2 months. At least it wasn't a week. But she, I'm like, well, how did you survive without me? And like, financially, like, how'd you do it? Because I've been gone a long time, and it was way more than 2 months. But she goes, oh, she didn't answer that, because I go, well, wait a minute. If I've been gone that long, what's the crypto market done? Maybe that's, because she would have had access to my crypto. So I go, what did the crypto market do? She goes, you don't want to know. And I go, yeah, I mean, a lot of time went by. And the thing was, when I went to see her, like to say, I'm back, like, hey, I was gone. She was in a small house, and she was renting a room out to some lady and her kid, which is probably helping her make some income. And it's a little small driveway, and I pull up in this little van, and I'm like, I know this isn't like our house, but it's not our house. This is way smaller. Like, what happened? Did we change houses? And that's when I asked her, like, well, what happened? And she goes, you really don't want to know. And I go, well, I mean, I do. That kind of time period, the crypto market had to have done some serious stuff in that amount of time. And she goes, it was bad. It was real bad. And I go, and then I wake up. So I think it was right after that dream. I'm going to the bank and I'm like, I just got that feeling again. Like, I've pulled some money out over these last many months. And I go, pull a little more out. Just, go grab some more cash. And I just for the hell of it. So I went over there, grabbed some cash. And on the way out of the bank, there's like the back way through another like small strip mall. And I decided, I think I want to go that way. And then as I go towards that way, I get this other feeling like, well, why don't you go behind the strip mall, like the back alleyway kind of a thing out of here? And I'm like, so I do it, okay. I go around the back. There's a dumpster in the back. And there is the biggest giant gathering of vultures I may have ever seen in my life. Like 30 plus easily, all hanging out. A bunch of them on the fence and a bunch of them down below, wings out. They're getting ready. And every single time, I'll just tell you, because me and Woo would do the joke about the vultures. He's like, oh, you're a vulture, sitting there waiting to pounce on the drop of the market, And I'm like, yeah, but I don't get involved with little drops. Like I only go for the big stuff. So I'm up here waiting on my perch, like patiently. So that was our little running joke for the longest time. Right. And then I start seeing little things like that. And I go, you know what? Woo, dude, I saw 2 vultures hanging out on the same perch next to each other today. And the next thing I know, market's dumping within a few days. And then I was recently up in Utah. And I saw these 2 vultures exactly like the ones he sends me in the cartoon. And I go, I didn't know they had like gold or like yellow and red and black in the ones he sent me. And I go, I just saw those in real life. And there was literally 2 on a perch in this little enclosure in this zoo we were at. And I write on Patreon, guys, the vulture thing. So this is going to be funny as hell if this happens, again. But I feel like it's not a dream, but I'm going to put it out there because I'm getting a feeling like, pay attention. And sure as shit, a little while later, we have this big, nice smackdown again. So again, 2 vultures here, 2 over there. I just saw the mother load. It was like they were having a meeting, deciding and my first thought was, those are some of my Patreon members who are finally getting it. I am going to be one with the vulture like Joe. I'm going to perch with him and hang out with him. And we're all, and there's 30 of them. And I even had a couple people comment this in the Patreon thing going, hey, that's us with you. And I thought, I don't know if I commented, but I'm like, you're right. Mm-hmm. So again, the dark omen of the vulture might be striking again. And again, the wife dream was it was not, the only interpretation that was needed was because I was gone for 6 years. And I thought I was gone for like a few minutes. And
I thought you said she waited 2 months, but you're gone 6 years.
I didn't know how long I was gone. I thought I was gone for a few minutes.
Oh, okay.
And I come back and again, I'm like, I know where she lives and everything. Like, even though this is like a different small house. So in other words, Evelyn had to downsize big time and bring a lady and her kid in for rent money to rent out a room. So, again, visualize, okay, what does that mean? Oh, well, there's a sign. And I flat out asked her, like some of my dreams, I'll ask about the crypto market. I'll get like the weird, shitstorm dream about the toilet thing that was nasty, but it was dead on the money important. And it actually panned out and warned us about a huge drop. This one was no interpretation. I asked her, how did the market do? Cryptos had to have done something. If I've been gone 6 years, they had to have done something. Oh, you don't want to know. I'm like, I do want to know. I mean, it's a long time. 6 years, this thing could do, and she didn't say years. The weird thing was, she goes, you've been gone 6 winters. That's how she said it to me. You've been gone 6 winters.
She went all Game of Thrones on you.
Yeah. That's, maybe needed. But then the next question was, well, that's a long time. I still want to know what happened to the market. Tell me what happened to cryptos. And she goes, it was bad. It was real bad.
Wow.
So here we have XRP doing a little rally. The judge is going to decide default judgment to either one of the parties. The SEC wants default judgment. That the Ripple wants default judgment, saying, look, it's a matter of law. We want you to just rule a matter of law and blah, blah, blah. So again, the judge may say, look, none of you are right. It still needs to go to trial. Oh, okay, nothing happened. Or the judge may say, you know what? I'm siding with the SEC. Everyone thinks they're going to side with Ripple. Ripple's going to win.
Mm-hmm.
what if the judge decides, no, I'm part of the plan. This is all a game. I rule with SEC. And then, of course, Ripple, we go to the appellate court and we file a suit there. And appellate court looks at it and goes, oh, you know what? We're with you, XRP. Case closed. Well, that's later. So what would happen to the price of XRP? Everyone's expecting to go up. So everyone's buying right now. It went from 33 cents to 48 cents, I think, right now.
Yeah.
And everyone's expecting this big announcement. Hey, Ripple won. But what if it doesn't happen that way? They'll win ultimately, but not yet. And again, it's just a big game. The news comes out. Sorry, SEC wins. And then we get our 20-cent XRP. Market's tanking at the time. Who knows? It could go that way. The only other option I thought, I said, well, what about a scenario where it does go up?
Mm-hmm.
I go, well, here's the other way. I got a dream last year. It was over $4, and I got the exact price. But I mentioned it to people. Go, hey, I saw this. But that means to me, sell at that price, because every time Spirit gives me a price, it's an actionable event. Yeah. So let's just say, again, opposite happens. We do side with Ripple. The judge says it. And oh my God, the XRP's let loose. Great. It goes to $4+. And then the big market crash happens to everything and dumps it right back down to 20 cents.
Mm-hmm.
That's one other scenario. But again, if I'm a betting man, I think people are being sucked in right now to get the flow, the rug pulled out from underneath them on this, fake news.
Another pump and dump with the fake news. Richard, what do you make of this all? Because we've had a lot of shows here and we've pulled cards, we've done remote viewing on this, and often we get the terms getting out of troubled waters. Eventually, at some point, this is what happens to XRP. Now, is this sign of us getting out of troubled waters? This is just the month chart here. That's why it looks flat like that. I'll go to the all-time here, but you see that little bump that just came up here in the recent news. Do you think that we're just now starting this recovery to getting out of troubled waters, or is this perhaps a pump and dump scenario, or is there something else here in the world event scene that might crash it back down to the low numbers that Joe's talking about before eventually going back up? What do you say, Richard?
Well, cryptos are still tied to the market in certain respects. And without a doubt, we're going to have a little bit of a dump going on here. And, when you say get out of troubled waters, the people that are investing in it now, they don't give a shit that it's 40 cents or even 50 cents. They really don't, because the people that know where it's going. So it just doesn't matter. Like when everything is said and done, if it's $800 a pop, are you really going to be pissed off that you got it at 40 cents? Probably not. So, it's something that Joe just got saying, because it's also confirming something I was getting with Spirit. When this thing goes off, it's going to go up like a rocket ship. I mean, it really is. And people are going to freak. And then I saw it at crazy six-figure digits for Bitcoin. Remember, Bitcoin's at, what do you think everything else is? But this is why I kept saying to people, lick your frickin' ice cream as you start getting to these all-time highs and take care of things. Because I saw another mother of all drops. But that's after everybody, how everybody gets, oh my God, it's never going back. The Theta Blues. Oh, it's never going back. And they're up into these crazy numbers. Then I saw it go down. But this is the funny thing. That corresponds with Joe's thought. But when I saw this and Bitcoin went way, way low, they didn't show me how long it was staying there. They just showed me and gave me the warning, to just send out to people that, hey, pay attention. Don't be damn greedy. Take care of, your life. Get your house on a good foundation, and then you can help other people. But something else will happen. But again, they didn't show me a distance on that. So I think it's more of, we'll wait and see this thing do its thing, but please don't ever think it can't come back down again when it's up there, because it's going to. All right. But everybody here, they've been warned enough. They should be able to acquire enough finances to make changes in their life to get through anything.
Yeah.
Just don't listen. I had this conversation with somebody the other day that I was reading. I said, so many people think that spirit wants you to have nothing, be a pauper, and just get through life in that manner. That's horseshit. Okay, they want to see their people succeed. And I'm going to tell you why, because they know these people with loving hearts are going to help other people. See, this is the changing of the guard. See, the people that are in control of it aren't out there. They don't give a rat's ass about somebody, all right, just themselves. The difference is these tables are going to be flipped, and you're going to have that moment of time where you could take care of yourself and then help other people. That's the difference, and that's the momentum we need. And it's really exciting in that respect.
Very well said. And the thing you said about acquiring enough resources here to prepare yourself, whether that's physical gold or silver or the right cryptos. Joe was just pulling up his Beyond Mystic bar here. There you go. This is mine. I just got this one a couple of weeks ago, and it's a couple of commenters I wanted to bring up also. Marquis, I sleep with my Beyond Mystic bar under my pillow. I love that. Thank you. I love that. And 6 Fairy Lights, JC, I have 9 of your silver bars. Beautiful bars. Thank you so much for that. Guys, if you're looking for those silver Beyond Mystic bars, you can find those at beyondmystic.net/silver. At the top of the page is the special order form for those silver bars. And if you're a Canadian subscriber, you can go on here to mfbullion.ca, where they have these 5-ounce silver bars on special right now at $5.99 over. Oh, the Trump coin. I love that. And of course, if you're on the American side, you can look at these 22 silver Britannias offered here by Miles Franklin for the Beyond Mystic audience at $5.25 over a spot. Now, I saw another comment I wanted to bring up. Ascension Organized. Carla, she says, listening to Joe's dreams might just be my favorite thing. I love that. A lot of comments of viewers saying, I love when Joe talks about his dreams. But first, let's see what Carla has to say. She's giving us an amazing pyramid here for the PayPal tip jar donators this evening. This will go to one of you guys here tipping on the show. And again, a big thank you to all of you supporting the show. But let's see what Carla has to say about this particular pyramid she's donating to the show tonight.
Carla again from Ascension Organized with another new design for you. Her name is Gabriela. So Gabriela is made of turquoise stones with white milky quartz and aluminum metals. Turquoise is a great stone that represents wisdom, tranquility, protection, good fortune, and hope. It is meant to work with the 5th chakra, the throat chakra, for communication. And also white milky quartz is a great master healer and amplifies any stone that is near it. She also has the Metatron cube in silver, or also known as the Merkaba. I'll give her a quick turnaround so you can see her. And there's the beautiful Gabriela. I hope you guys like her, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you so much, Carla. I appreciate that. And guys, if you're looking at getting one of these amazing Organite pyramids for yourself, you can do so here at ascensionorganites.com. You'll see the whole collection there. And if you use the coupon code BeyondMystic, you'll get an extra 10% off. Julie, before I forget, are you doing a candle thing tonight also? I forgot to ask you before the show.
Sure. Let's do it.
I'm putting you on the spot here. Okay, so let's go to maisonjupiter.com here, where we have these amazing crystal-infused candles made by Elena here. Which one do you want to give away to the audience tonight, Julie? What do you think?
For a romance, since we're entering into Libra season, which is all about relationship and partnership. So let's go for romance. So this one is infused with red carnelian to light up the passion in your life, and it activates the sacral chakra. And all the crystal that Elena put on the candles, they're handmade. She charges those crystals at the full moon, so they're infused with a lot of good energy for protection, for activation.
All right, very good. Well, thank you so much, Julie, for also donating to the show. Joe, you were smirking a little bit earlier. We were talking about silver, and WOOWOODUDE was showing his Trump coin. What did you want to share with the audience?
Where she said, "I love hearing Snip's dreams." I was gonna say, I know what that's like, because I used to be that, and I still kind of am on some things, but where I would, what does that person have to say? I can't wait for that little thing. And now I'm the guy getting these dreams, and people are like, "Oh, I can't wait to hear what he says." That's just fascinating that I never could do this, and now I do it. And now I'm not the guy that was always wondering what so-and-so thought or these other few people thought or what they got in their whatever, psychic thing. Now I get the dreams and like, oh, I can share them. And other people are like, oh, I can't wait for Joe to have a dream that's important. That's just funny to me. But on that note, I'm on a tight line with my wife tonight.
Okay.
And I need to run.
Okay. Well, there you go, guys. I guess we can wrap up the show. Is there anything else, Richard, you wanted to say before we go? Or Joe, anything else here? Just to remind the audience here of how they can support you on your Patreon. Let them know here which package they're looking for if they're getting into crypto and they want a little bit more of your insights here in terms of the trade call actions. What do they need to look for?
Yep. Just that middle one there is $20 a month. JSNIP4 is crypto woo-woo. And that's patreon.com/JSNIP4. And that's where I write all the posts about, oh, I just got this, or I need to share this, and about crypto or whatever. And that's the only one. Everything you need, I post there. The other one next to it, the Elite, is for people who may need a little hand holding or some questions or portfolio review or things like that, where they can kind of reach out to me directly and I can reply back to them, that sort of thing.
Okay, sounds good. So guys, that's patreon.com/JSNIP4. And guys, if you want to have a booking with Mr. Richard, the WOOWOODUDE, you can do so here at WOOWOODUDE.com. Richard, anything you want to let the audience know your schedule looking for? If we book today, when can we get an appointment with you? Do you know?
In November.
In November? Okay, that's not bad. Not bad. All right. Guys, woowoodude.com here to reach Richard. And of course, you can support Julie here with either the candles or also the birth charts or the consultations with Sophie here at maisonjupiter.com. And again, there, if you use the coupon code BeyondMystic, you'll get an extra 10% off. This was the special Wacky Woo show. Hopefully, this guys calms down all the energies and you guys are with us and you're taking the right decisions and the right course of action to protect yourself and your family. And as Richard was saying here, bring down the fear and just enjoy here as we go along. And, maybe take a last minute look at your preparations. And you have to have faith here that universe has our back. I'm Jean-Claude BeyondMystic. I love you. Wait, go ahead.
On a quick question.
Yeah.
Is Evan going to yell at me for being a few minutes late? Better not tell you now. Oh,
dude, you got to go, man.
The dream. Remember the dream? Oh, you don't want to know.
No.
Well, crypto, you don't want to know. Yes, I do. Better not tell you now.
Right.
Oh, man. I better get my ass up there right now.
All right. I love you guys. Have a great evening. We'll see you soon. Join us tomorrow night for the show. What's it called? The Break in the Clouds with Kelly.
Yes.
That's going to be at 8:00 Eastern. I love you guys. Have a great evening, and we'll see you soon.
Take care.
Au revoir.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Au revoir.